All right, Shalom, Shalom, Barakatah Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to our apostles, elder bishops here at Great Millstone. Shalom to you brothers pushing the work in truth with all sincerity. So I'm gonna title this one, Our Prayers Have Been Answered, and, I'm just speaking to, what we've suffered, the evil that, we constantly go through due to the perpetual hatred our enemies have for us. We've caught a lot. We've been through a lot on this planet Earth, you know, and we continue to go through a lot, and the Lord, I guess you could say the Lord, is essentially, he's been answered our prayers, but this lesson is just to convey, be mindful of that in these times, as we go or get closer to the end, the Lord has been working for, in our favor, all right, and has been answering our prayers, and He will continue to answer our prayers as we go along, and as we, as the time winds down, as we draw closer to the wire, so to speak, you know, and I had quite a few precepts, Lord willing, this is edifying, Here I want to start. Let's see here. Yeah, let's start in Isaiah 46 and 47 and 6. I was wroth with my people, I have polluted mine inheritance, and given them into thine hand. Right? And who was it talking about? The daughter of Babylon. All right, because the Israelites are in captivity under the Edomites. Okay, and Esau is also known as the virgin daughter of Babylon. Okay, and that's in Psalms 139 or 137, one of the two. We'll get it real quick. Because Esau is exhorting his power over the Israelites, and we see that in right now in our day and time. We're living it. Okay, the so-called white man has power over the earth. Okay, he has power over the people, and he essentially he gets to do whatever the hell he wants. You know. And here, Psalm 137. Okay, in 8 it says, "O daughter of Babylon." All right. Oops, let me go up a verse. Right, it says 137 and 7. It says, "Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom, in the day of Jerusalem, who said, race it, even to the foundation thereof." Right, meaning to tear it down. Okay, because that's what happened when our temple, the first temple, was destroyed by the Babylonians. Esau was there. Okay, and the Lord hasn't forgotten. In fact, we remember till this day. The Bible makes it makes you remember, so to speak. All right, it forces you to remember. All right, because the Lord is going to bring these things into judgment. All right, O daughter of Babylon, right? Because it's referring to Edom. Is continuing the conversation. It says, "Who art thou? Who art to be destroyed? Happy shall he be that rewarded thee, as thou hast served us." That's right. Okay, so the Lord is going to, He's going to reward them according to how they served us, and they served us with rigor, hatred, pure hatred. No, no, we call it no mercy. All right, they shoot absolutely no mercy. Okay, so Isaiah 47 and 6 right here, because this is dealing with the same individuals, the descendants of Edom. All right, or the descendants of Esau, which is Edom. Okay, so it says, "I was wroth with my people, I have polluted mine inheritance, and given them into thine hand. Thou didst shew them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke." You see? And NLT says, "For I was angry with my chosen people and punished them by letting them fall into your hands. But you, Babylon, the daughter of Babylon, which is Esau, Edom, showed them no mercy. You oppressed even the elderly. You said, I will reign forever as a queen of the world." And that's the same sentiment, the very sentiment Esau has now, the so-called white man. Okay, you did not reflect on your actions or think about their consequences. All right, and that's why now when he sees us raise up this great awakening, he's afraid, because now those signs that that you know he's afraid of. All right, the signs of the times. Okay, the Lord visiting the earth, anomalies happening in the earth, the Lord's prophecy coming to pass. He's afraid. All right. And our great awakening makes him very afraid. Okay, because it points to the signs of his end. All right. The end of the world. Okay. All right. And, finally, the Lord has, essentially lent his ear and heard our cries because we came humbly. All right. We came humbly. Okay. This is Isaiah chapter 51. I'll start at 22. It says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, thy Lord Yahweh and thy God that pleadeth the cause of his people. Behold, I have taken out of thine hand the cup of trembling, even the dregs of the cup of my fury. Thou shalt no more drink it again. Okay. But I will put it into the hand of them that afflict thee, which have said to thy soul, bow down, that we may go over, and thou hast laid thy body as the ground, right? The Israelites as the street to them that went over, and that's our plight here in the world, right? We have laid our bodies down, and these nations have walked over us, especially Edom. Okay, Isaiah 51 and 23 in the NLT says, instead I will hand that cup to your tormentors, those who said we will trample you into the dust and walk on your backs. Okay, so they're gonna have to drink that cup of trembling. All right. Here, these might not be, too much in order, but let's see here. Well, yeah, we can read this. Yeah, 2nd Ezra 6 and 57. And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen which have ever been reputed as nothing have begun to be lords over us and to devour us, right? And because the Israelites are not in the state of, um, a utopia where the world is bowing to them. The world is actually against them and trying to silence them. That's what the Bible depicts that, the condition the Israelites will be in the very end time. Okay. It didn't say that they will be, uh, a welfare state and that everybody would, show credence and everybody will flow unto them. That's, that's going to happen when the Lord returns. He's going to force everybody to bow the knee. Okay. All right. But now the Israelites are catching hell under, the foot of the so-called white man, the Edomites and the other nations. All right. The so-called Chinese, which are Ammonites, or excuse me, Moabites. All right. Not Ammonites. Ammonites are the Japanese. Okay. Hamites, and which are so-called Africans. Okay. Well, not all Africans are Hamites. All right. But if you know, you know. All right. So moving on. Right? It says, but we thy people whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover, are given into their hands. Verse 59, if the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? How long shall this endure? And that's essentially what we've been crying for. And the Lord has answered our prayers. We on par for what? The Lord, we on par with prophecy, the Lord, undoing, the things that were done to us, the hurt, the trauma, you know, we're on par for that. We're on course for that. All right. Everything is falling into place, and we ought to be mindful, of that. Okay. All right. Because we, the sentiment of that cry is all throughout the scriptures, and how much more now, all right. The Chaldeans used to punish Judah, right? And it's no different now, only now is that you have a spiritual Chaldean, which is, Esau, Edom. They're likened unto the Chaldeans of old because of what the Magi's and, the witchcraft and all of those things, the occult, knowledge and how they've been ruling this world. All right, it's in pure wickedness. All right, So Habakkuk 1 and 2, it says, O Lord, how long shall I cry, and thou wilt not hear? Even cry out unto thee of violence, and thou wilt not save. All right. And when you look at the history, our history within the last few hundred years, man, they've had their way with us. They've done all sorts of heinous things to us with no response, no one to come to our defense. But now the Lord is coming to our defense because again they're trying to line us up to take us out again. And this time it's going to be, in hopes to completely eradicate us. Okay, but the Lord has answered our prayers because now we're crying unto Him. Okay, now He's hearing our prayers. All right. Why dost thou shew me iniquity and cause me to behold grievance? All right, for spoiling and violence are before me, and there are that raise of strife and contention. Okay, therefore the law is slack, and judgment doth never go forward. Right, for the wicked doth compass about the righteous, therefore wrong judgment proceeded. Okay, Habakkuk 1 and 3 in the NLT, must I forever see these evil deeds? And that's how we feel. It's the same sentiment the prophets carried of old. We carry the same sentiment, the same thoughts, the same feelings. Okay, just in this time. Why must I watch all this misery? Wherever I look, I see destruction and violence. I am surrounded by people who love to argue and fight. The law has become paralyzed, and there is no justice in the courts. The wicked far outnumber the righteous, so that justice has become perverted. And that's the truth. All right. In this world, the world that we live in America, okay, in their eyes, good is evil. Justice is, there is no justice, especially for the weak. And that's how they look at us as weak. And in fact, they use their law to oppress, okay, and to make people suffer, because of what they deem, right in their hearts, which is it's not justice at all. It's just hatred. It's just that I can do whatever I want to you at will, without any, backlash, without anyone saying anything about it, without anybody coming to our aid. But the Lord is now about to come to our aid. He's going to lift up a standard against this devil. All right. This is Psalm 74. All right. And let's see here. Psalm 74 and 9, it says, we see it not our signs. There is no more any prophet. You just had the old, the older Jake from One West. He was just saying there ain't no prophets in this time, right? Okay. But, the Lord essentially he gave us an answer. All right. So we see not our signs. There is no more any prophet, neither is there among us any that knoweth how long. But now we do, because now you have prophets, men of the Lord, who are measuring the time diligently in itself. Okay, and we can see the end coming and coming fast. Oh God, how long shall the adversary reproach? Shall the enemy blaspheme thy name forever? Right? Why withdrawest thou thy hand, even thy right hand pluck it out of thy bosom? Right. We want the Lord to respond. We want the Lord to act. Okay, for the Most High is my King of old, working salvation in the midst of the earth. Right, and we, as the scriptures say, we're not going to give him no rest until he establishes. Okay, you think the Lord is not going? He's going to continue to allow these devils to keep doing what they're doing? No, he said he's going to avenge his elect. Okay, he made that very clear. Isaiah 62 and 6, I have set watchmen upon thy walls. See, now the Lord has answered. He's answered our prayers. Okay, let me cue this one up. All right. I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace day nor night. Ye that make mention of the Lord, keep not silence. Right. We're not gonna give, we're not gonna rest until what the Lord establishes in the earth. Until the Lord overturns what, essentially he's done. Okay, and until the Lord forgives us. Okay, Isaiah 30 and 20 pretty much saying the same thing. It says, and though the Lord give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner anymore, but thine eyes shall see thy teachers. Right? Do you see it? Don't you see your teachers? You damn right you do. Okay? Starting with the elders apostles and their elders before them. We've seen our teachers. And the Lord has set them up right in front of our eyes. So we're right on par for prophecy, or right on par, or right on course. All right, with what the Lord said he was going to do. Okay, very clear. All right. Yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner anymore, but thine eyes shall see thy teachers, and thine ears shall hear a word behind thee saying, this is the way, walk ye in it when right. And we got leaders who are guiding us, leading us, right? When ye turn to the right hand and when ye turn to the left, right? And that's something to admonish or acknowledge, okay? That's something to, really consider, all right? Because for so long we've been getting our butts, you know, kicked, and they still can kick our butts, you know. You got corporations, who now, they're just having their way, okay? They lock us up in prisons and they created another lane for slavery or slavery by another name, you know. Our misery is their profit, literally, okay? Baruch 3 and 1, it says, O Lord, Almighty God of Israel, the soul in anguish, the troubled spirit crieth unto thee. That's where we at. We're not, joyous. If we were joy, if we had no worries, then we wouldn't have to call on the Lord. All right. But we got plenty to worry about, plenty of things that we're suffering. Hear, O Lord, and have mercy, for thou art merciful, and have pity upon us, because we have sinned before thee. Right. And what did the Lord say? Right. Remember Hosea 5 and 15. I will go and return to my place till they acknowledge their offense and seek my face in their affliction. They will seek me early, and that's essentially what's happening. We are seeking the Lord earnestly. Okay. But he's not going to turn his face back towards us unless we, cry unto him. Okay, unless we cry unto him. Okay, and then this is a call for what? For us to be, in that mournful, lowly spirit and calling on the Lord. It's not a time for us to be in this festive, spirit where, you acting like everything's okay and everything's all fine. Things are absolutely not fine, right? Zephaniah 3 and 12 really quick, it says, I will also leave in the midst of thee an afflicted and poor people, and they shall trust in the name of the Lord Yahweh. The remnant, meaning a small portion. A remnant is it's not everybody, it's a small portion of Israelites, because you don't have a lot of Israelites calling upon the name of the Lord in a mournful spirit, all right, and in a contrite spirit. Most of Israel is just partying, really in a party mindset, in a comforted mindset, in a rest. They're resting. Okay, they're crouched, a crouched lion, as the scriptures say. Okay, who shall rouse them up? And the Lord's going to do the rousing, right? Verse 13, the remnant of Israel shall not do iniquity nor speak lies. All right. Neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth. Right, 100% true. For they shall feed and lie down, and none shall make them afraid. Sing, O daughter of Zion, shout, O Israel, be glad and rejoice with all the heart, O daughter of Jerusalem. The Lord hath taken away thy judgments, right? He hath cast out thine enemy, the King of Israel. Even the Lord Yahweh is in the midst of thee. Thou shalt not see evil anymore. And it's going to come to a time where the Lord's going to cover us. Okay, we got to go through, tribulation. Through much tribulation shall we enter into the kingdom. All right, but along that, even within that, we're going to be, protected. Okay, And the Lord's going to fight for us, whether we, have to be, go to the spiritual world, meaning being put to death on this side. The Lord still is he's going to, put in our spirit. He's going to give us strength in our spirit. He's going to comfort us, just like the angels comforted Yahweh Shai in his final hour. Verse 16, in that day it shall be said to Jerusalem, fear thou not, and to Zion, let not thine hands be slack. So what you think is happening now, right? In that day it shall be said to Jerusalem, fear thou not. Right? We're being told not to fear. Even though Esau is lining up to try to take us out, okay, we're told not to fear, right? Fear thou not. And to Zion, let not thine hands be slack. And those are the men of the Lord who are pushing the work, giving the Lord no rest, okay, until he establishes in the earth. The Lord Yahweh thy God in the midst of thee is mighty, right? And he's going to show his strength. He will save. He will rejoice over thee with joy. He will rest in his love. He will joy over thee with singing. I will gather them that are sorrowful, right? So the Lord's going to show his mighty works. He's going to lift up a standard, right? For the solemn assembly who are of thee. I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly. See, those that mourn, those that are sorrowful. He's not gathering those that are festive at rest. No, okay? He's gathering them that want out. We want out of this place. We don't want to have nothing to do with this place anymore. We're tired, okay? And I know if we tired, man, how much more our elders, the apostles and elder bishops, okay, who are of thee, to whom the reproach of it was a burden. See, and most of our people, as the NLT said, they ain't disgraced. They're not disgraced at the history. In fact, they move as if they have absolutely no fault. They have absolutely no sin, right? And that's just not the truth. They're not moving in a humble spirit and recalling the evils that we've done and sorrowful and praying unto the Lord in a mournful spirit and a contrite spirit so that he may help us. Okay? All right? And they're not doing that. But the Lord says, I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly. And that's the remnant who are of thee to whom the reproach of it was a burden. Right? NLT says, I will gather you who mourn for the appointed festivals. You will be disgraced no more. Well, yeah, it kind of, yeah, so is it the meaning of the Hebrew for this verse is uncertain, right? But when I broke it down to whom the reproach of it, what reproach? The reproach of us going through, hell, catching hell because of our sins and slavery and our past tribulation, past transgressions, right? That all was a burden to us, okay? So we mourn, we cried unto the Lord, all right? Here, let me see. Read those. Here we go. Baruch, back in Baruch 3 and 1. I'm going to close out in a second. It says, O Lord, Almighty, God of Israel, the soul in anguish, the troubled spirit cried unto thee. Hear, O Lord, and have mercy, for thou art merciful, and have pity upon us, because we have sinned before thee. That's right, for thou endurest forever, and we perish utterly. And that's the truth. O Lord, yeah, we're perishing, Okay, we need help. We need absolute help. We need your power, Almighty. Almighty power, O Lord, Almighty, thou God of Israel. Hear now the prayers of the dead Israelites. Right, the dead Israelites who have died and gone on. The Lord hears their prayers, okay, because they're complaining to him in the heavens. That's Revelation 6 and 9. It says, and of their children which have sinned before thee, and not hearkened unto the voice of thee, their God, for the which cause these plagues cleave unto us. Remember not the iniquities of our forefathers, but think upon thy power and thy name now at this time, right? And this is what we call in the Lord to do, okay? And that's what he's doing, okay? For thou art the Lord our God, and thee, O Lord, will we praise. And for this cause thou hast put thy fear in our hearts. You see, the remnant has a fear, not everybody, to the intent that we should call upon thy name and praise thee in our captivity, for we have called to mind all the iniquity of our forefathers that sinned before thee. Behold, we are yet this day in our captivity, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments, according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our God. Hear, Israel, the commandments of life. Give ear unto to understand wisdom. All right. And so we are yet this day in our captivity, and we're praising him. All right. And we're calling upon his name in our captivity. All right. And he's hearing us, and he's answering our prayers, and he will answer. Okay. It says, how happeneth it, Israel, that thou art in thine enemy's land. So the Israelites are in their enemy's land, and it's always been the same thing. It's been perpetual because the Lord has not come himself to deliver his people and put them in the land that he said he was going to do by himself and himself alone, not by British mandate, not by no so-called Elias, you know, not by all of these people who have come, you know, giving money and chartered planes and all of this other stuff. Okay, the Lord himself is going to do it. Okay, that thou art in thine enemy's land, that thou art waxen old in a strange country, that thou art defiled with the dead, that thou art counted with them that go down into the grave. Right, we have fallen, just like the heathens. We are likened unto them. And we have so long been in this country, in the land of our enemies, we act like they do. We think like they do. Okay? All right? For if thou hadst walked in the way of God, thou hast forsaken the fountain of wisdom. That's the truth. That's this understanding. For if thou hadst walked in the way of God, thou shouldst have dwelt in peace forever. Learn where is wisdom, where is strength, where is understanding, and this is what this is what's happening, right? We're learning where wisdom is. We're learning where strength is. We're learning where understanding is, that thou mayest know also where is length of days and life, where is the light of the eyes and peace. Okay, and we know now. Okay, we know now. All right. All right, I don't have, let me see, Isaiah 65, 21, 23. Yep. Start at 17, new heaven and a new earth. For behold, Isaiah 65, 17, for behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. Right, because, you know, we don't have no place of rest. We don't have no continuous city here in America, in the world, because they want to oust us. They want to completely eradicate us. They want to take us out so that the name of Israel will not be in remembrance anymore. Okay? So we looking for a new heaven, a new rulership, a new earth, a revitalized earth, a healed earth. Okay? And the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind, but be glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. Right. Rejoice forever. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing and her people a joy. Right. And this is something that we have to look forward to. Okay. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem and joy in my people, and the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying. There shall be no more thence an infant of days, nor an old man that hath not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, but we're not going to die no more in the kingdom, okay? But the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed, all right? And we ain't going to sin, so they don't apply to us, all right? And they shall build houses and inhabit them. Here's the point. And they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. And they shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat, because that's all we've been going through. People taking what we have, taking over everything. Okay, for taking over our inventions, taking over everything. We can't call anything ours in America without a backlash, without somebody saying something cruel, right? For as the days of a tree are the days of my people, mine and mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. Right. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble, for they are the seed of the blessed of the Lord, and their offspring with them. Right. And so eventually, Lord's going, he's going to heal, he's going to overturn. And that's what's happening now as we see, the prophecies lining up. The heathen are afraid and they're mounting up. But, fret not, because the Lord's going to deal. He's going to show his strength in that time when they think that we're, vulnerable and they think that it's going to be fair game, you know. So with that, Lord willing, this was edifying. Until next time, I say shalom.